we have discussed about. Sita, are you able to hear me? Okay. In the previous chapters, we have discussed about when your source is a flat file, you define the structure. When your source is a flat file, you define the structure while designing the mapping. At that time, the file with sample data should be on your local machine. Then while extracting the data, that is when you execute it, the file should be physically present on the integration service. But and you have to specify the path in this where that file exists in the session properties. So whenever your source is a flat file, to import the structure, the file should be on a local machine. When you execute it, the file should be on the integration server machine, and you have to specify that path in the session properties. So at runtime, it will extract the data from that file. Then we discussed about when you want to extract data from a flat file, two flat files, or one flat file, one table, or two tables from different databases or database servers, then you use a transformation called a joiner transformation. The purpose of this joiner transformation is to join heterogeneous joins. That means the joins which cannot be done in an SQL through an SQL statement. Joins which cannot be executed. You cannot join based on an SQL statement. In that scenario, you will use joiner transformation. If you can join in SQL statement, then you can directly use on the source qualifier transformation. So when you can join using an SQL, if it is on the same database, if it is relational, tables, views, synonyms, at that time you use SQL source qualifier. But if it is other than that sources, then you use joiner transformation. Joiner can take only two inputs, not more than that. And the condition, it can take only the equal to operator, and it supports four types of joins: normal join, full master outer join, master outer join, detail outer join, and full outer join. These are the four types of joins which Informatica joiner transformation supports. Joiner contains three ports called input port, output port, and a master port that is defined by the import. So when the data comes in, that is input. When the data goes out, that is output. Regarding the import, we discussed that as Informatica does a row-by-row process, so a joiner transformation, one source of data will be in the cache. A memory is allocated to the joiner transformation at runtime. One source of data will be in the cache. That is, we call it as joiner cache. A memory space at runtime is allocated to this transformation by Informatica at runtime. So which source of data should be there? That is represented by that import. Whichever you select that as import, that becomes your master port. And the thumb rule is which source has less number of records, then you have to indicate that as import. So at runtime, two sources of data will be extracted by joiner transfer by source qualifiers. One source of data will be kept in the joiner cache. After a complete data is set in the cache, then other source of data row by row comes and scans the cache. If it satisfies the condition, then record goes out of the joiner transformation to the next transformation or to a target. Or if it does not satisfy the condition, the record will be dropped. That is the importance of joiner. Joiner needs a cache. Then in the example, we used expression transformation to calculate price into quantity to load the data into the target table. The other discussion we had was when you extract the data from a source qualifier transformation, if it is two sources as a table from the same database, you can join them in the source qualifier itself. You can join them in the source qualifier itself because it is coming from the same database. Using the join condition, Informatica at runtime will write the default select statement appended with its join condition, and it will extract it. And in our example, we need to filter the data where salary is greater than 1,000. Means that only those records I need. I do not want to load the data which says salary is less than or equal to 1,000. So in the source qualifier transformation properties itself, we specified that filter. This is what we have discussed in the yesterday's class. Do you have any questions? Is what we have discussed. Now today's agenda will be we'll discuss about the expression filter transformation, loading data into multiple targets. Till now we were extracting the data from multiple sources. Now we will discuss about extracting the data and loading into multiple targets using filter transformations and router transformation. Before that, yesterday in the previous chapter, we discussed how to join them in a source qualifier filter condition. How can you create a filter condition in the source qualifier? The same mapping, I will do the filtering by introducing a transformation called filter transformation. I'll join in the source qualifier itself and I'll use the filter transformation. Same mapping with a filter transformation. I don't have the exam, actually we will use this. Please write it down. I don't have a sheet for this. Source qualifier join and filter in the same table, TGT EMP department table. I don't have a sheet for this, so please write down the discussion what I am doing. Basically, why I do not have the sheet, I'll explain you after this example I discuss with you. So we are extracting the data from src_emp table and src_dep table. Both are on the same database, so we will join them in the source qualifier itself. Source qualifier is represented by SQ. Now I want to load only where salary is greater than 1,000. For that, Informatica introduces a transformation called filter transformation, which I will discuss in a few minutes. So let me take the sources, src_emp, src_dept, and my target table is tgt emp dept. Same mapping, I'm doing it, but I'm not going to filter in the source qualifier. I'll delete this source qualifier transformation. I take department name and location. So same example we are doing. I'll put the user defined join where department number is equal to department number. Now I want to filter the data. The other way around of filtering the data is using a transformation called filter transformation. This is used to filter the data when your source is a flat file. Because when your source is a flat file, you cannot write a SQL statement. When your source is a flat file, you cannot write a SQL statement. So because I'm showing you the flat file source of Nelson, you cannot write the SQL. That's why when your source is a flat file, you want to say, let's say you have a flight called Nelson, and you want to, where tax ID is greater than 1,000, you want to filter it. So you cannot write it in a source qualifier. So you filter it using a transformation called filter transformation. The purpose of this filter transformation is to filter the data when the source is a flat file Or when your source is a relational also, you can use filter transformation. You can write multiple conditions in this. And also this filter transformation is used when you want to load data into multiple targets. When you want to load data into multiple targets, you use filter transformation. You use filter transformation. So in this mapping, which we have done yesterday, same thing, I will use a transformation called filter. I am doing on salary. Filter syntax, please write it down. FIL. FIL is your filter. So I take all the records which I want, all the columns which I require. I'll take it into this filter transformation. And I'll connect to my target table. Now in the filter transformation, you specify the filter condition. You specify the filter condition. You specify the filter condition here, where the salary is greater than 1000. In the filter transformation, you specify the filter condition. So when the record comes in, if the condition is true, that record will be going out of the transformation. If the condition is not true, then that record will not go out of the transformation, it will drop the records. If you can filter at the source caller file itself, there only they do it, that is the best practice. But if your source is a flat file, then you cannot do it in a source call file, so you have to use filter transformation. And filter transformation also can be used when you want to load data into multiple targets, that we will discuss in the next example. So this is a filter transformation. In this you have to filter it, only the condition you have to specify. You can use if then else if functions in this. So when salary is greater than 1000 means if that condition is true, the record goes out. If the record does not satisfy the condition, so it will drop the record. As Informatica, when you execute it, it will extract the data from the source. Row by row process happens. So first record comes into the filter transformation. Filter checks the condition. If it is true, goes out. If it is not true, it will drop the record. This is the importance of filter transformation in the mapping. For practice purpose, I will execute this also. So before that, let me delete the data in the target table. Let me delete the data in my target table. Task developer. Actually, the other day's mapping itself, we used filter, but I used it in source qualifier. I think I didn't save this mapping. So create source qualifier filter. Be careful when you select the mappings, because now you start having multiple mappings. Which one you associate it, be a bit careful there. So source is your source connection. SP14. Target, your target connection. SP14. Change bulk to normal. Save your. Now I'll execute it. Row by row, Informatica comes in and filters the data in the filter transformation. So let us check the data. So it has loaded the data. If you observe, there are no salaries with less than or equal to 1000. All the records with greater than 1000 will be loaded into the target table. Whichever does not satisfy the filter condition, then it will drop the records. Clear about filter transformation, please. Very simple transformation to filter the data. Based on department number. Yesterday's mapping only. Yasin, the source qualifier. Join is based on this condition. Source department or department number is equal to src emp dot. Let me go to your question. Two source tables, Yasin.
Hey Vijay, so in that example, yeah, but that source department, right? In that, the department number is not carried over from the, I know, from the source employee. Yeah, but from the source department table, I don't see a department number that is carried over, right?
Yeah, you won't see it, but as soon as here there is a flexibility in the tool, you don't need to carry forward it because there are two sources. It will show up two sources here.
Oh,
when you write the condition, even if you don't drag it, it will show up here. It is not mandatory that whichever column you are putting in the join condition should be dragged into the source qualifier. It is not mandatory because it has a flexibility to show it to you here.
Okay, so even if you don't drag it, it will come in the input ports basically.
Not in the input ports. As two sources, it will show you up in this property sheet of. I'll come back again. Double click. Properties. Source user defined join. Here it will show up.
Okay.
It's the flexibility of the tool. Because you have 5 columns, you don't need to drag all the 5 columns. If you require as the output of it, then you drag it. If you don't require, then do not drag it. Flexibility of the tool.
Okay. Yeah, this is different from ab initio, so that's what I was just curious.
Okay.
Ab initio, you need to carry all the columns if you need it.
Oh.
Right. Thanks, Vijay.
Now, the next requirement, you have done this mapping yesterday. Only thing is you redo it and keep a filter transformation. Now, my business requirement is to extract the data from single source, but I need to load data into multiple targets. I need to load data into multiple targets. Till now we were extracting data from multiple sources. Now I need to load data into multiple targets. Now let us discuss this. I'm extracting the data from src emp table. I'm trying to load data into tgt emp _1, tgt emp _2, tgt emp _3. Means there are 3 tables to be loaded in 3 target tables to be loaded. What is the condition? For the target 1, you load data whose employee's salary is greater than or equal to 1,000 and whose salary is less than 2,000. For target data of salary greater than or equal to 2,000 and salary less than 4,000, you load it. And target 3, you have employee number equal to 7839. That data to be loaded into the target 3. These are the 3 target tables which we need to load. Now let us come to a traditional programming, which a lot of people does it in C, C++ or anywhere. Whenever you want to load data into multiple targets, in a traditional programming, I'm just writing a simple steps here. What you do, step 1, you extract the data from the source, that is src _ emp table. To extract, you have to write a select statement. So they might have, if it is a PL/SQL program, they write it in a select statement, and they have a concept called the cursor. They'll put that select statement in a cursor. The cursor is like a memory space. It will extract all the data, loops the data one after another. From step 2, you will write a loop. saying that if salary is greater than or equal to 1,000 and salary less than 2,000, you say insert into target 1. Else, I'm not very clear about the syntax and all that stuff. Let's say you say put else if salary is greater than or equal to 2,000 and the salary is less than 4,000. You say insert that record into target 2, or else where employee number is equal to 7839, insert into target 3. And if generally we do like this in a traditional programming. Let's say you have a source data of employee ID and a salary. 1001, salary 2500, 1002, salary 1500, 1003, 6000, 7839, 5000. Like this, if you have data in your source table and you have target tables like employee target table 1, so what you do? Yeah, that one also will put it 1004, $950, $850. So what happens in a traditional PLSQL programming, if you write it, cursor will get the data, first record comes in, first row comes in, goes to this condition, 1001, I'm talking first row comes in, into this, checks the data for condition. What is the first row salary? Is 2,500 for that employee 1001. Condition failed. Then it loops to the second row. Condition true for 1001 employee. Condition true. So what will the traditional programming do? It will go insert into target 2 at employee ID 1001 with salary 2,500. But it will not check the third loop condition. It will not go. Wherever the record satisfies that condition, it comes out of it. Wherever the record satisfies this condition, it will not go to this. That is the way traditional programming does. Now, for example, you have taken the second record, 1,000 to 1,500, goes here, satisfies the condition. So for 1002, condition is true. It will not go to the second loop condition. If this is satisfied, then it will go and load the data into your target 3, 1002 with salary 1,500. It will not go down. It will not go down to check. Then third record 1003 comes in. Here it will check for 1003, 6,000 failed. Then it goes to the second condition, 1003, 6,000 failed because salary is not there. In the third target table, 1003, 6,000 it goes, failed. So the record gets dropped. This 1003 gets dropped, means it will not go anywhere, drops the record. So the record, first it will test the first condition. If it does not satisfy it, it will loop to the second condition. If it does not satisfy it, loop to the third condition. Wherever it satisfies, that condition checking will be stopped there itself in a traditional programming. Now look at the fourth record. Fourth record comes in, 7839 with salary 5,000, condition not true. Third condition, 7839, second condition, 5,000, salary not true. Here 7839, yes, employed is 7839, true. So it will go and load the data into your third target table. So this should be 1. This should be target 3. So in target 3, it will go and load the data into with employee ID 7839 with salary 5,000. Then the fifth record comes in. If the employee ID is 1004, loops here, does not satisfy, goes here, does not satisfy, goes here, does not satisfy. So then the record gets dropped. This is how a traditional programming works. Why I am trying to specify this is, in the traditional programming, if the record satisfies the condition, it will not check for other conditions below the loop. Wherever it satisfies the condition, it will move out of the loop. This is how a traditional programming works. When you want to load data into multiple targets, this is the way you write it. Now, keeping in back of your mind this one, now let us do how Informatica works. So my source is src_emp table. I need to load data into 3 target tables. First step in Informatica is you define the source. Import from database, source database. Already we imported, sorry, we have that src_emp table with us. So no need to import it. We go to the target table, import from database. Three target tables. You can select by using control key multiple tables. Then mapping create m_, mapping number 6. To load data into multiple targets, I will use filter transformation. So I use this naming convention of this mapping. 3GT_1_2_3 filter that will help you when you use the mapping. So you have the source and you have 3 target tables. Now please observe it very carefully. In Informatica, what they suggest is best practice is use expression transformation after the source qualifier. Best practice is use the expression transformation after the source qualifier, even if you don't have to do any calculations. I'll explain after this mapping is done why they use this. So employee number, what are the columns I require, that only I will take it. I will not take the extra columns out of the source qualifier transformation. So I will take employee number, employee name, salary, commission. Those are the 4 columns I require. So I put it in my expression transformation. Those are the 4 columns I require. I put it in my expression transformation, best practice. Now to load data into a target table, you will use multiple filter transformations. What is the functionality of filter is, when the record comes in to this filter transformation, I'm talking previous mapping, if the record satisfies this condition, it goes out. If the record does not satisfy the condition, the record drops. So in this example, I will create a transformation called filter to load data into target table 1. Now I'll put the employee number, employee name, salary, commission into this, and employee number, employee name, salary, commission into this. So I'll put the condition here where salary is greater than or equal to 1,000. Let me see the condition. 1,000, and the salary is less than 2,000. So now what happens? Look at it filter in a different perspective now. The record comes in. If the record does not satisfy the condition, it will drop. If the record satisfies the condition, then it will go out. So the record comes in, salary which is greater than 1000 or less, greater than or equal to 1000 and less than 2000, it will load the data into this target table. Second condition we want is, I will load data into second target table where salary is greater than or equal to 2000 and salary less than 2000. Same stream of data. This is called the same stream of data splitting into multiple streams. So you load the data into second target table, properties, salary greater than or equal to 2000 and salary less than 4000. Salary greater than or equal to 2000 and less than 4000. Then another transformation, create filter TGT underscore EMP underscore TGT underscore EMP underscore 3. In this I'll put the condition as this. Then I will load the data into this target table. Properties, here I'll put the condition as employee number is equal to 7839. So when a record comes in, it satisfies the whichever record satisfies the condition, that will go out of the filter transformation. So whenever you want to load data into multiple targets, you use multiple filter transformations. How it internally works, we will discuss in few minutes. So I used a filter transformation to filter the records. Best practice is an expression transformation, which I'll discuss after this example. Please open your sheets and write it down. It is on the page number 24. So please write down this. After you're done, please let me know. Please write the session properties for this also. Then I'll explain you how it internally works. Please write the session properties. Sixth mapping. You have a single source. So source connection. When you are trying to load into multiple targets, then you will have multiple targets connections you have to provide. Bulk to normal. Change bulk to normal for all the three. Then workflow. Save your work. Now let me discuss this. Before I execute, let me discuss what's happening. You have a source qualifier. I didn't put a source because of space constraint. So assume that you have a source before the source qualifier represented by SQ, and you have expression transformation best practice. So 3 filter transformations. So you have the source, 3 filter transformations, 3 target tables. Now, what does Informatica does? When execute it, it will extract the data from the source, that is src_emp table, complete data. I didn't put all the records here. In the src_emp table, there are 14 records, but I just show you 6 records of space constraint of explaining this. So when you execute it, first record comes out of the source qualifier transformation, goes into the expression transformation. Goes to the expression transformation. From there, filter transformation reads the data. How many filter transformations you have, that many times it will read the input data. Whereas in a traditional programming, which we have done, one condition at a time it will read the data, means it will go to that loop, checks it, then if it fails it will go to the next, then it goes to the next. In Informatica, the difference is when a record comes in, how many filter transformations you have to all that input is read. It's called reading the input data. How many filter transformations you have, that many filter transformations will read each and every record. So if you have 14 records, or if you have 6 records and 3 filter transformations, input is read by each record for 3 times. So 6 into 3, 18 times the record will be read. So how many filters you have, that many times it will read the input data. That is one. Second is, it will test for all the condition of all the filter transformations. Each and every record will be tested for all the conditions. Whereas in a traditional programming, it will test only where salary, one condition, if it does not satisfy, it goes to the next condition. If it does not satisfy, it goes to the next condition. Like that it will work. So in Informatica, salary, see, each record will be tested by the filter transformation. How many you have, that many tests it will do for each and every record. So it will test for the condition now, where salary is greater than, it will check this, does not satisfy the condition. It will check this, yes, this will satisfy my condition, salary greater than 2,000 and less than 4,000. Check this, employee number is equal to 7839, this employee number is 7782. So the condition is not true here, the condition is not true here, so it will drop. These two will be dropped, these two filters will drop this record. The second filter transformation successful because condition satisfied, so goes and inserts into the second target table. Then after that, again source qualifier will read the next record. Filter transformation will read the data, 3 transformations, 3 times it will read. Same record will be read by input reading, this is called. It will read the input data, that is input data going into the transformation. So it will read the input data because for all the 3 transformation data is going in, and it will test for all the conditions. Then this record will satisfy the first condition, so it will go into the first target table. Third record comes in, goes into the filter transformation. Input is read by all the 3 filter transformation. Then checks for the condition. So 7839 is the employee number. So filter will test for all the salary only, it will test here, it will test for employee number. Why I gave you the difference? Because in filtering, it is not mandatory that you are in multiple filters you have to use the same column. You can use different columns. And if a record satisfies all the 3 conditions, then it will go out to load data into 3 target table. If a record satisfies 2 conditions, it will go to the 2 target table. If a record satisfies 1 condition, it will go to the 1 target table. So condition in filter it will read the input data by all the filter transformations, test for all the conditions for each and every record. Then this satisfies the 3rd condition, so it will go to the 3rd target table. 4th record comes in, test for the condition for all the filter transformation. 900 does not satisfy any of the filter conditions, so it will drop the record. it will drop the record. Any of the filter conditions if it does not satisfy. So this does not satisfy 900. Employee number is 7839, here 7900. Here salary is 900, not this condition. If the salary is not this condition, it will drop the record. So it will not go out. Answer to your question, yes. In a traditional programming also, you have three target tables, three conditions. So every condition you will have a different answer. But if you say salary is greater than 2,000 and salary is less than 4,000, no, if then else if condition this is. In Informatica it is not a loop. In traditional programming that is called looping. Here this is no loop at all. Each record will be tested for all the conditions. So next record comes in 7566 Jones. Test for the filter conditions. It will satisfy the second filter condition, so goes out and loads the data into the second. Last record comes in 7521. Satisfy the first filter condition, goes out and goes to the second target table. So this is how it will load the data in your filter transformation. So filter will load the data into multiple targets. For using multiple targets, you use filter transformation, but filter will read. The way filter works is, it will read the input data. Filter will read the input data. How many filter transformations you have in a mapping? That many times the source data will be read. That is, records will be read that many times. So in the source, if you have 20 records and you have filters as 5 filters, so input data will be read for total it will take 100 because each transformation will read that 5 each record. Filter transformation tests for all the conditions, all the filter conditions based on all the filter transformations. How many filter transformations you have, that many it will test for the record condition. Whichever satisfies, it will take out. Whichever does not satisfy, it will drop the record. That's how Informatica works in the filter transformation. Before I go further down, any questions, please? Yes, answer to your question. No. Let me take the example here. What we mean by filter condition? Let's say one condition, you say to load into target 1. Let me make things very clear. You have a business requirement to load data into target 1 whose salary is greater than 1,000 and salary less than 2,000. That is one target table business requirement condition. In a target table 2 condition, you have salary greater than or equal to 2,000 and salary less than 4,000 that you want to load into this. Target 3 condition, employee number is equal to 7839. Let's assume you have a target 4 condition. Now your condition may be like this. Salary greater than or equal to 1,000 and salary less than 2,000. But I want only the employees whose employee number is greater than, and also I want employee number who's greater than 7840. So in a filter condition, if you are looking at multiple filter condition, in a single condition you can have multiple column conditions. This is single condition but multiple column conditions. This becomes one filter condition. This becomes one filter condition. Or you may have anything like this. This is one condition to be loaded into one target table. So if you are looking at that sense, it depends on the number of targets, that many filter conditions you require. Sita, are you clear? Yes, but the condition should be the same. Like you have target 5, in the same example, target 5, you need to load into it also where employee number is equal to 7839. Then for that, you don't need to create a filter transformation. From this third filter only, you can load into 2 target tables. Same condition, you can load into 2 target tables. You have a filter here. In this, you specified is employee number is greater than is equal to 7839. You specified it. So you can load data into 2 target tables. If you have their business requirement, same filter condition, you can put 2 target tables. So how many target tables you need to load, that many filter transformations you require. It's not mandatory there also. If you want to load into multiple targets of same condition, 1 filter transformation is enough to load data into multiple targets. Clear, Sita? Yasin, the answer, if you have to drop out the, not the records, drop out the columns, ports. No. Just maybe typo mistake. It's columns, one reason. I'll come there. I'll come there in few minutes. Yeah, I'll let you know why it is. In projects, why they do like that. Now I'll execute this. So it should load data into my multiple targets. Select star from TGT underscore EMP underscore 1. Select star from TGT underscore EMP underscore 2. Select star from TGT underscore EMP underscore 3. So 2 records, 3 records. So third target only 7839. Second target only employees between 2000 and 4000. And first target only employees between 1000 and 2000. So how many records are there in this? 6 records. How many are there in this? 5 records. 6 plus 5, 11. How many are there in this? 1. 12 records are loaded. Let's see what is the data in my source. Actually, in my source, there are 14 records. In my source, there are 14 records, but it didn't load 800 and 950 because it does not satisfy any of the filter conditions. So it dropped these 2 records and it loaded only the 14 records. Are you with me, please? Are you clear? Now, why they use expression transformation? Yes, Rupali, you can do that. You can do that. Let's say you have a filter. You can use another filter. In between, you use expression. Then another filter. Like this, you can do it. It's not mandatory that you should use it. But what we do as a Informatica consultant, how many more transformations you use in a mapping, that less will be your performance. Because let's say if it is a business requirement, then you have to use it, But try to do it in less transformations. That is what we say when we do projects. How many less transformations you have? It's lesser time. More transformations, but if business requirement is there, then you can't do anything. I'll give you an example. Now you have to go from Chicago to Delhi or Bangalore. If your business says that you should go stop London, then you have to stop. Then go. But your ticket, you didn't have a choice, but you have to go Chicago, then go to London, then go to Bangalore. If you don't have any other option, then you go by this. But the best option is, I don't want to stop at London, let me take the direct flight. Just I'm trying to give some analogus to that. So wherever required, try to accommodate in one and do it. But it is not mandatory. You can use filter after filter and all that stuff. Clear, Rupali? Where are you from, Rupali? By any chance from Karnataka? You are native of which place in India? Maharashtra. Which part of Maharashtra? Is it border to Karnataka? Okay. Okay. By seeing your last name, I thought you were from Karnataka. I don't know, just I thought. Now the next requirement is, he wants to extract data from one single same source but load data into multiple targets. Now he wants to load data into 4 target tables. One is salary is greater than or equal to 1,000 and salary less than 2,000, one condition. Another condition, salary greater than or equal to 2,000 and salary less than 4,000, and employee number 7839. And whichever does not satisfy any of these 3 conditions, you have to load into 4th target table. So before go further down, let me come back to that expression thing. Generally what we say in projects is, yeah, that's what I'm saying now. Yeah, Sita, I forgot. Why we say best practice? When I say best practice, you may use it or you may not use it. But generally what happens in projects is, what we observed, you have a source system. It may be on SAP system. So the column names in SAP system may be of different ways of doing it. Let's say they have 5-character length columns. Or if you use Oracle apps, they have their columns. And they have employee ID like this. They have the revenue column as RTX. I'm just giving an example. So they may have different columns, department number like this. It is not mandatory that a department number is DEPT number and all that stuff. It is not mandatory. There is a field called counter CNTR. Sometimes they have column names as L01. Like this, source system is designed as per their requirement. Now when we come to data warehouse projects, we redefine the column names ourselves. In a database, we define as per our requirement. In our case, we may say employee ID, we say revenue, we say department number, counter. This column represents the region column, like this. So what we say in projects is, In expression transformation, when we use expression transformation, one practice is do not take the columns which are not required. Do not take the columns from the source qualifier which are not required. That is one reason. Reason is, in the source you may have 40 columns in the table, but you require only 20 columns for your processing. So if you put source qualifier transformation, 40 columns, the challenge you face is, let us take this example. Let me delete this expression transformation from here. While connecting like this, assume that there are 40 columns. You have to put it in 3 streams. This is called splitting into 3 streams. So first column, second column, third column, seventh column, like this you have to take and you have to connect like this. The mistake what you will do is, sometimes you miss this column to this column and you put it in this. Another filter transformation, you may by mistake, I'm telling you practical problems, these are all. It will be linked like this. By mistake you will start doing it, because multiple, generally in projects what we observed is, it will split into multiple streams. Means one source of data coming in, one or multiple sources, it will split like this. Stream will be split, and afterwards, after doing the transformations, comes back to the target like this. So generally that is what we have seen in projects. So same data will be split into multiple streams based on the business logic. So if I start taking it from my source qualifier itself, there is a lot of chances that I may miss some columns or I may take wrong columns while dragging. If you observe it, I have taken different ways. Because in 40 columns, to capture that 20 will become a challenge for me, because data will be split into multiple streams like this. So what we say in projects is, take only the required columns from your source and put it in your expression. So in the previous, like we put it in the example, only the columns we required. So it became very easy for us in the downstream to get the data directly from the expression transformation. Imagine you have 40 columns, not 4 columns. That is the reason they use this expression transformation. One fundamental rule we have observed in the problem. Second is this column name story. Generally, as a ETL consultant, your focus will be on data warehouse tables. More focus, your language, your thinking, your thought process will be on, your ideas will be on these column names. So what we say is, because your idea is that columns, put it in the expression transformation and rename it. So they put this in the expression, drag the employee ID, but they rename it to whatever your understanding is. Same column, but they rename it in the expression. So downstream, your development, your clarity will be very clear. For that reason, they use expression. And also, when the project goes in the support, you are a developer, so you know what is employee ID to what is this and all. So in the support also, it will be very easy for the other people to understand your mapping. So they know EMPI should be employee ID, they know it. But while moving to filter, while moving to expression, aggregator and all other transformations, your life will be easy. For that reason, they use this as a best practice. Clear? So in the lab also, try to do that. Because don't try to think that when you get a job, I will do it best practice, now I don't do it. That day you will not be able to do it. That is what our experience says. In the lab itself, you practice it. Practice makes man perfect. That's what the philosophy says. Now the philosophy says practice makes woman and man perfect. Terminology is changing. That is on the lighter side. Now we want raw data into multiple targets from source EMP table and load the data into 4 target tables, employee number, employee name, so 4 target tables. So first let me define the mapping. This is here also same source table, but you need to load data into different target tables. M underscore 8 underscore, I will use a transformation called a router to load data into these tables. So I have the same source table and I have target multiple targets. Create a best practice. Is this 6 or 8? Sorry, it is 7. This is the 7th mapping. Best practice expression. Take employee number, salary, commission. Now I'll introduce a transformation. To load data into multiple targets, you will use a transformation called filter. There is nothing in this. Rename means just double click. You put this in the expression. If they say employee name, you rename it. Just double click and rename it. There's a salary, for us it is full, commission is. Now you want to load data into multiple targets. You can use filter. Here there are four filter transformations, so you use four targets, 4 filter conditions, 4 targets, so you use filter transformation. But I will use a transformation called a router. The purpose of router transformation is to load data into multiple targets or single source of data into split into multiple targets, multiple filter conditions. Same thing. Before version 5, we used to use filter. From version 5 and above, we started using router transformation. Same functionality. To load data into multiple targets, you use filter transformation. Sorry, you use filter or you can use the router. So explanation of a router is, in a router transformation, there are 2 groups. Here the advantage of a router is, if you have multiple filter conditions, you don't need to create multiple filter transformations. That is multiple router transformation. In a single transformation router, we can create multiple filter conditions. We can create multiple filter conditions in this router transformation. So in a router transformation, when the data comes in, a single row data comes into the router, they call it as input groups. Here the terminology they use is input groups. If the data is coming into the transformation, that is called input group. If the data is going out of the transformation, they call it as output group. So input group and output group. So data which is coming in, input, data which is going out is output groups in Informatica router transformation. Again, this output group is divided into 2, user-defined group and default group. User-defined group and default group. So data which is coming into the transformation is called input group. Data which is going out of the transformation is called output group. Output group is again divided into 2, user-defined group and default group. I'll come what is default group in a few minutes. User-defined group conditions means that filter conditions which you specify, they are called user-defined, means developer-defined. You are using Informatica, so you call it as user. So user-defined groups are nothing but your filter conditions which you specify, those are called user-defined group conditions. If you create one user-defined group condition, automatically Informatica router transformation will create another group condition called default group by itself. So you can take the data out of the user-defined group, or you can take the data out of default group condition. You can take it out, but when you can take it out, that is what is the discussion point. If a record comes in, that is called input group. If the record goes out, those are called user-defined group conditions. You can define the user-defined group conditions. As soon as you create one user-defined group condition, Informatica will create a default group. Here also, the data will come in. The difference between a router and a filter is, filter will read how many filter transformations you have, that many times input data will be read. Whereas in a router, it will read each record only once. One per record, input data will be read by the router transformation. One per record, the router transformation will read the input data once. One record per read input data, but it will test for all the user-defined group conditions. Router will test for all the user-defined group conditions. So a router transformation is nothing but a filter transformation. Router is like a filter only. There is advantage. I'll tell you what is that advantage. Both will load data into multiple targets or in a single target, or if your source is a flat file, also you can filter it or you can use the router transformation. Router contains two group conditions, two groups. Data which is coming in to the router transformation is called the input group. Data which is going out is called as output group. But in the output group, they have divided into one as user-defined group condition, that is your group condition, and the another condition is default group. So user-defined group condition or default group. All the user-defined group conditions are nothing but your filter conditions. That is, you define it. So they are called user-defined group conditions. As soon as you create one user-defined condition, as soon as you create one user-defined group condition, automatically Informatica will create a default group. What is the importance of this default group? That is what I am going to discuss now. So if a record comes in, the router will read the input data only once per record. When it comes in, it will test for all the conditions, all the filter group condition. Here terminology they use is filter group condition, group filter condition they call it as. So it will test for all the user-defined group conditions. It will read the input data once per record, but test for all the user-defined group conditions. Each record will be tested for all the user-defined group conditions, group filter conditions. Like filter also will test for all the filter conditions. If the record satisfies any of the user-defined conditions, it will take out. It will be taken out. If it satisfies multiple user-defined group conditions, it will be taken out as success. If it does not satisfy any of the user-defined group conditions, then the record will be tested for default group. So when a record comes in, if it does not satisfy any of the group user-defined group condition, then automatically that record will fall into the default group. And if you can take it out or you may not take it out, it is up to you. So user-defined group conditions you specify. Now let me create the router transformation. The syntax for router is RTR. Please write it down. Syntax for router is RTR is the syntax. Now look at it. I'll take employee number, employee name, salary, commission. I'll go back and rename this because it may create EMP number, e-name, sal, commission. Now employee number, e-name, salary, commission. You put it into the route transformation. You read the input data. This is called input. One stream only. Now double click. properties, there are no properties. They are called group filter conditions. Whenever you define a condition, it is called group filter condition. In this, you specify. As soon as you create add, automatically it will create a default group in Informatica. First condition, I need to load data into target table 1. Here you specify the filter condition. That is salary greater than or equal to 1000 and salary less than 2000. One condition. You want to define another filter condition. In the same transformation only, you will define it. You don't need to create multiple filter conditions. So, group condition, salary greater than or equal to 2000 and salary less than 4000. Another group condition you add it. Only one default group condition will be there. Here the condition is employee number is equal to 7839. So when you create one group filter condition, automatically it will create one default group condition. Now observe it. You expand this. So input group condition. These three are user-defined group conditions. Whenever you create one user-defined group condition, that is filter condition, it will create a default group. So this stream, I'll take it into the first target table. This stream, I'll take it into the second target table. This stream, I'll take it into the third target table. So what is our business requirement is, first condition, salary greater than or equal to 1000 and less than 2001 target, salary greater than or equal to 2000 and salary less than 4000 second target, employee number 783 third target. If a record does not satisfy any of these three conditions, put it into their fourth target table. That I have taken it as default group. So in the fourth target table, and I save this word. And save your work. So you use one router transformation and input group, multiple out user-defined group conditions you specify in the groups and a default group. So you save your work. Now let us discuss what happens internally. Before that, I want you to write please write it down this. And let me know source and target connections, multiple targets, multiple connections. Done. You have a source qualifier, you have expression transformation, you have a router, input group. As soon as you create one group condition, user-defined group condition, automatically it will create a default group. Then group 2, user-defined group. Group 3, user-defined group. You put it into 4 target tables. Now how router works, please observe it. When you execute this, you will get the source data, goes to the source qualifier transformation. goes out of the expression transformation. Input data is read per record only once. That is one input group condition. Then it will test for all the user-defined group conditions. Each record will test first for all user-defined group condition. If the record does not satisfy any of the user-defined group filter condition, then it will go to the default group. That's the business. That's the way router works. So let us go further. Second group condition it satisfies, but it loads the data into the second target table. 7499 goes to the router input group. User-defined group condition salary is 1600, satisfies the group 1 condition. So it will go into the router 1, loads the data into target 1. 7839 comes in, goes to the input group, tests for the 3 conditions of user-defined, satisfies the third group condition, goes out and loads into the third target table. Fourth target table, 7900, where salary is equal to 900. It will test for all the 3 group conditions. Please observe it here now. Salary 900 does not satisfy this condition, does not satisfy this condition, does not satisfy this condition because the employee number is 7900 and my condition is 7839. So it will test for all the user-defined group conditions. If the record does not satisfy that group condition, it will automatically fall into the default group. If the record does not satisfy any of your user-defined group condition, it will fall into the default group. If it satisfies this default group condition, it will come out. Anyway, it is default group. If it does not satisfy any of the, let me reiterate again, if the record does not satisfy any of the user-defined group condition, then it will fall into the default group. You can take it out, or if you don't want it, you don't connect to any target table or any transformation, so it will drop automatically there. But it will come into the default group. In our case, we read a record which does not satisfy any of these 3 conditions, so it will go to the 4th target and loads the data. That is the importance of your default group. So 2975 comes in for salary employee 7566, scans, puts it in the 3 user-defined group conditions, satisfies the second user-defined group condition, so it will go and load into the second target table. 7521 employee ID goes in, it tests for the 3 user-defined group condition, it will satisfy the group 1 condition, so it will go to the target table 1. So this is how Informatica loads the data into the target table. Predominantly, now people use the router transformation only. But you may ask me a question, then why we have filter? Previous version, some transformations will be kept as it is in projects. In products, they don't change it. It will not occupy much space, so they will keep it like that only. So sometimes we may use or may not use it. When interview, people will ask you, what is a filter? What is a router? So for this mapping, I will create a session. Do you have any questions on this? I will be executing now. Do you have any questions? This is your 7th mapping. So source is src_emp table. Please observe it here. One source table, and you load it into multiple targets. SB14, change bulk to normal. How about others? Do you have any questions, please? For all the 4 target tables, say normal, 4 targets, 4 connections, workflow. I'll create the session for this. Now I save this and I start the workflow. Go to my target tables. It is RTR_1. So it has loaded 6 records in the RTR_1. In this it has loaded 5 records. Same condition, so it will load it here. This it has loaded 1 record. Now let us see fourth target table. Whichever does not satisfy the employee IDs or salaries, which is not part of that user-defined group conditions, will be loaded into the fourth target table. So difference between a filter and router is, in a router and filter both test the condition for each and every record, as many filter conditions you have. What a filter does is, if it does not satisfy the conditions, the record will be dropped. Whereas in a router, if the record does not satisfy any of the filter conditions, then it will put it into the default group. Another important advantage is, router will read the input data only once, whereas filter transformation will read the records as many filter transformations you have. The number of filter transformations you have, that many times it will read the input data. That many times it will read the input data in filter transformation. That is the difference between a filter and a router. I'll take the last example for next 15 minutes. Small example, 2 sources, 2 flat files, 1 flat file, 1 table. And I will do the mapping. You also do the mapping. When it executes, what happened, that I will discuss in tomorrow's class. Here I have 2 sources. One is src_emp table, other is salaries.txt file. I need to load data into 2 target tables. TGT-emp sal and error employee table. From salaries file, I am getting the salary data, particular employee ID. Another is src_employee table. The business requirement is, if the employee ID is null, that record should be loaded into the error employee table. If the employee ID is not null, that record should be loaded into TGT-emp sal table. So 2 sources, one is a table, the other is a flat file. You need to load data into a target table, TGT-emp sal and error employees table. If employee ID is null, you should load into a error employee table. If the employee ID is not null, you should load it to TGT-emp sal. So when you look at the data in Informatica, so what is the requirement? You have 1 table, 1 file. So you cannot join them in a source qualifier, so you use a joiner. Then what is his requirement? He is saying, if employee ID is null, it should be loaded into error employee table. If employee ID is not null, then it should be loaded into TGT-emp sal table. This is my business requirement. So 2 sources, one is a table, the other is a file, so you use a joiner. You want to load into multiple targets, you can use filter or a router. In this case, we will use a router transformation. So 2 tables, one is a table, the other is a file. So let me define the source. Mapping, source, import from database. src_employees is my source table. So I define it. Another source, import from file, C_class examples, salaries.txt file, import field names from the first line. This is a comma delimited file. Next, finish. So this is your 2 sources. One is your target, 2 target tables, import from target database, error employees, and TGT_emp_sal. As per your business requirements, 2 sources, one is a table, the other is a file. This is 2 target tables. So you need to load data because of mapping name m_9_. I need to use joiner to join the data. So I use joiner as my name, mapping name. I'll get my source. One is src underscore employees. The other is a flat file called salaries.txt file. So for each employee, data is coming in salaries information is coming from salaries file, and employees information is coming from the employees table. Pertaining to each employee, there is a salary here. One is a table, the other is a file. So they use a joiner transformation. Prasad pettochunava joiner transformation. I'm joining on employee ID. So from employee ID till age, you put it in this. And you need a join condition. So you put employee ID and salary into this. Here in a joiner, you need to take this column also. Whereas in a source qualifier, you don't need to take it. In joiner, you have to take it like Yasim you said in ab initio. Here you have to take it into the joiner transformation. I rename this coming from salary, so I rename it as my salary source. Then in a joiner, you specify the join condition employee ID salary equal to employee ID. We made a salary source as my master, so employee ID is equal to employee ID. So best practice, after source qualifier or after joiner, we use expression. We use expression transformation. So from employee ID till age, I'll take it from this source. I need only the salary. I'll take it from the salary table. Salaries condition is in joiner. This is the condition. Property is a normal join. So this is your expression transformation. Now you need to load data into multiple targets. So if you want to load data into multiple targets, you create filter transformation. One for TGTEMP sal. So from expression, I will take it till here and put it into this, then into this, then into my target table. Here the filter condition is, please write it down, the syntax, not is null, employee ID. The syntax is not is null, employee ID is the syntax for filter 1 filter condition. One filter condition. Another filter transformation I will take it. That is for my error employee table. So from the expression, you will put it into this filter transformation. From this, I will put it into my error employee table. Properties, condition is null, employee ID. So this is how you join two sources as flat files. Best practice expression. One is table, one is flat file, so you join them in a joiner. You need to load data into multiple targets, so two filter conditions. You can use router also, but for a discussion sake, I used filter transformation. So open your sheet. Please write down this and create the mapping. I'll explain you tomorrow class what will happen when it gets executed. But I want you to create the mapping, please. Why I told you the mapping, because tomorrow again it will take more time for me to explain the mapping and all. I'll explain you, but tomorrow it will be a bit faster. You have time. Only two mappings you have to do. This is the third mapping. First mapping, just you have to put a filter only. So this mapping you have to do two joiner transformation, one table, the other flat file. and you have to load data into multiple targets. So 2 target connections. Please write it down. Internally, what happens tomorrow we'll discuss. So you have 2 sources. One is table, one is flat file. That's why I used joiner. One is expression best practice to load data into multiple targets. I used a filter. One is not is null employee ID. The other is null employee ID. You are done writing this. Please let me know. You can execute this mapping also. Please write it down. This to execute this mapping also. Oh, you are not done. Oh, you are done. The source definition, source and all this is done, please. Yeah. Go to the second one. Write down this. Your source is a flat file. So flat file connection. One source is a table. So source connection. 2 target tables, 2 target connections. Workflow name. Please write down this. Execute it also. In one target table, it should load 27 records. In one target table, it will load 27 records. In error employee table, it will not load any records. That I will tell you. Now also I'll do and show it to you. Do it till here. What is the challenges and all? I will discuss in tomorrow's class. After you're done writing this, please let me know. Yeah. I'll come there. Yasin, where are you from? In India. You're from India? Dallas, in US. You're native of India? A native of US. Oh, Kerala, okay. Because if you are native of US, you cannot understand my language, my slang, or whatever accent you call. Which part of Kerala you are from? Guruvayur. Yeah, Krishna Bhavan. I've been there once. I'm basically from Hyderabad. That Karnakaran CM used to go, used to do puja from morning till the night. Since Karnakaran was CM every year. I've been once there. On 24th, I am going to Shabarmalai, December 24th. I am on Mala now, Ayyappa song. Yeah, whole 2 months vegetarian only. Yeah. Yeah. This is first time in my life. Okay, you are done? Yeah, I'm started. Yeah. Let me myself also create the mapping. Task developer. It should be 8. Why am I missing numbers like this? What, Sujay? What happened? You're not there. Source. One is relational table. The other is target. Sorry, source is a flat file. C colon class underscore examples. Sorry. INF server. SRC files. Error employees. Target SB14. Bulk to normal. Target SB14. Bulk to normal. Okay. I start the workflow. It has loaded the data into my target table. So it will load 14 records, 27 records into the target table. And there won't be any records in the error employees table. Why it will not have these records will be the discussion. It is there. It should not be there. I will check it up. Please do the mapping till here. I'll let you know what was the problem. Let me see the error. Oh. It's null employee. Let me get back to you tomorrow for my point of view and all that stuff. Employee is null. It is loading, but it should not load. I'll check it up. You do till here. What my point of view I want to tell you is 27 records it should load into TGT underscore EMP sal and no records in error employee table. Why will be discussed tomorrow's class. With this, I'm done for today. Any questions? Third mapping also, this last mapping I will be discussing. Yeah, I will give you my contact number, Venkat, but I will not be in a position to talk now because I will be running for the next class. This is my number, 799490 So please do this mapping. Only question I have is, what are your plans for your Thanksgiving? I know Venkat is not available on 26th. What about others? Are they going out of station or how it is? Or like all days we will do it last minute planning? You will be here, okay. How about Rupali? You're not going out. What happened? Market down? I'm just kidding.